Okay, previously we talked about computer generations. We first talked about different types of computers. We talked about, I hope Boomba, you are here, you are among the team, though I have decided to put you in classes. Now for like Benjamin, for Selwada, you work during the day, so you have evening hours. I saw this time is good for you. Bumbari, you are also a teacher. This time is good for you. For others, you have those students that whereby even if during the day you find they are free. So that's why I decided to group you into a suitable group that you can have. I will share the group link. You be in because that's where we always put the updates. I put it in the chat, so it's up to you to join that group. And then so that whenever we have a lesson, you can pick up than waiting. Remember, even you can have a lesson that you are not part, but it can be good for you. Then you can join, and then you have something. So that link will be shared soon. I will tell this man to share the link. Or you come to my inbox. Let me share here my number for those that might not have it. You can come to my inbox and then you ask me to add you in the group. I'll press the number in the chat box so that you can save it. It's on WhatsApp so that we can follow up together. So previously we talked about computer generations, and then I told you, though most of you went away, that this is the models, or this is the development or innovations in computer. Some people tend to take this theory as a by the way, but this is the foundation. This is the foundation. As we are continuing with the practicals, again we need the theory part. Those who that like Bumba that come to our center here in Kampala, Bumba, I hope you join the one of Chireka. Like Benjamin, those ones that are able to join our center in Masaka, you continue with those practicals, physical practicals, you continue with the online practicals and then online theory. If you want to pass, unless you only want to pass practicals. National assessments always they ask practicals and then theory. So that's why you need these two sectors, the theory part and practical part. And what fails most of the students is the theory part. You find that you are able to understand practicals, but theory part takes away. And when you are having any interview, what they ask more is the theory part. So and then this computer generation is the key aspect. The key aspect in computer education. Why? Because this is where we see the development. This is where we see the foundation. This is where we see the heart of computer. How did the computer came into existence? How did the computer move into such and such stages? We see it through this computer generation. As I said before, that computer generation is the history of computer development. Is the is the history, is the dream, is the what, is everything. So this is the development. This is where we use different technologies according to the years and stages, and then you can describe it as the technological development, or you can say innovation. Why innovation? That different innovators were able to bring ideas to have something better, to have something that we can use and then for the good of our computer usage. So basically computer generations, basically in books we have 5 generations. Though currently we have more generations, which is not documented but is in existence. Okay, it's documented, but in books of learning, we find that basically we stop on 50 generations. But more generations are there, and then they are still coming. Innovators are still bringing the ideas into practice. So we had what we call first generation computers. Under first generations, this is the generation that ran from the 1940s up to from 1940s up to 1956. So that all those years we had to use vacuum tube as the main technology. But those computers with vacuum tubes, they had challenges. So you could find that those computers, they could occupy a lot of space, they could generate a lot of heat, and they could have so many determining factors that requires to innovate into the second generation. But by that time, this one was this development was you find that computers by that were the fastest calculating devices, and basically they were used by government agencies. It could be rare to find an individual with a computer at home. So that's why we say, that's why it was common with the computer generation, with the governments, this kind of generation. It was so common. So under this, we find that we have this one. We used what we call it's the generation that based more on binary number system. When I talk about binary number system, I hope you are able to understand that this is the number system that deals with zeros and ones to perform a function. You can animate and then you tell me something. Have you ever seen, who has never seen a remote? Benjamin, have you ever seen a remote?
Yes.
Have you ever seen a monitor?
Yeah, I've never seen a monitor.
Now, are you seeing the power buttons that they resemble and look like each other? They have a 0 and a 1. Have you ever observed that? That's a binary number system. It's not a design, but it is a binary number system. So under this generation, the first generation, we saw that this is where that development was so common. That technology of binary number system, it became so common. So we have some of the characteristics under this first generation computer, things that were describing this generation. One, they based on vacuum tubes. If they ask you to name the computer generation which based on vacuum tubes, that was only first generation computers. So under generation, that is the only generation that used vacuum tubes. Unlike for the fifth, whereby each technology is being used even in more other technologies or generations. By that time, another characteristic was the fastest computing device. By that time, because computation time was in microseconds, and it's only generation that used the microseconds, you are going to find that second generation uses another type of speed. So this one, under this one, we had to use microseconds in speed. So in that, it determines by that time that computers were the fastest calculating devices or computation devices. As I said, they were very large. Being very large, they required a lot of space for installation. It could occupy a whole classroom. Those who usually visit school, you find the whole classroom being occupied by one computer. That could be a little bit tiresome and then not easy to handle, things that kind. Being generating a lot of heat, so air conditioning was essential. So this is the generation where air conditioning was essential. Why is it essential? Because it could generate a lot of heat. Even nowadays, computer generates heat, but you find that the heat it generates is minor. You get? So after that, let's talk about being non-portable and very slow equipment. Who has ever used a Pentium computer? Is there anyone here among my people that are in this class that ever used a Pentium computer?
The second computer that was like a TV.
It was like no, don't base on a monitor, but I mean a computer. Because you can have a monitor which is like a TV, but when the computer is i3.
This file, they didn't have CPU. The CPU were inside the monitors. They were like doing the CPU acted the same.
I'm not talking about general, but I'm talking about PCs used. PCs are under 5th generation computers. That's where we have under there. Pentiums are processors, not technology. Because we have Pentium, we have Core I. Those are processors. i3, i4, i3, i6, so those are processors. Because nowadays computer use the processors, though it is integrated with artificial intelligence, but they use processors. Are we together? So they lacked meaning another characteristic is that they were very slow in speed. So they were the slowest generation we have ever had. Though in quality compared to human beings, they were the fastest. They were very expensive to operate, and they used large amount of electricity. So you find that these one basically they were required by the government. You get my point. So basically that was those are the main characteristics. Under this way, you should know about this, that they consumed a lot of space, they produce a lot of heat, they were very slow compared to other generations, they were expensive to buy and operate, and they based on vacuum tubes. Those 5 points are enough for you, even if you don't have them other points. Those are the basic points. Those basic points are so good for you. If you can master those, then you have a way to go. So let's move to another generations. These ones, some machines, this one, even if you ignore, but also they are good. This session will be shared, and this document, it will be shared. Murindwa, you can unmute. Murindwa.
Yes, please.
Do you have an account? An account where we do course work or whatever. Do you have it?
I do. An account.
Your network. You have an account of what?
Google, as in an email where you can put the work on.
No,
I'm not certain about the question.
Don't use that. We have because you were sent to us, and then all the payments were made by United Professional Organization, hopefully. But the one that onboarded you, they have to give you, text him, he will give you logins to our learning portal. whereby the courseworks are always there. These other people that are on, they know what I'm talking about. We don't send
I'm getting
courseworks.
you.
We don't send courseworks to your emails, so we can't manage sending coursework to each of you. But we just put it there. Then for you go there and do it. You get?
I'm getting yes, I'm getting it.
So after the lesson, you inbox him. At least before the tomorrow's lesson, when you have that account. You get my point?
Okay, sir.
Okay. So let's proceed to second. Do you have any question concerning first generation computers? I'm trying to be quick because for Benjamin, I'm told you are at the office of Masaka, not so?
Yes, I'm at the office.
So meaning you have to travel back. Is the secretary
Yeah.
still around?
No, I'm still around. She has closed up.
She has closed up. You are where? At the
I'm
at the
sitting here at the lawn.
you are stepping outside the
No, I'm sitting here because of our way.
so but you are within the gate premises.
Yeah,
So
I'm still within the vicinity.
within the gate, but you are inside the gate, meaning you are safe.
Yeah, I'm safe. I'm safe.
Ababbi n'abatemu tebakufuna ntubobuzibu. Not
I'm
so?
okay. I'm
Okay.
safe.
Okay. Now let us proceed. I said we have second generation. So you don't have any question?
I do have a question.
Yes, please.
We are saying this the first generation computers they are hard to install. So
Mm,
my question is,
mm.
did they have what we have right now, what we call how fast were they going according to our generation?
What do you mean?
Comparing.
No, these first generation computers, they never had the monitors.
Oh, so data was not seen but was processed.
Were processed but not seen because they never had the monitors.
Oh,
First and second generation computers never had the monitors. They could give feedback by the technology of what we call patched cards. Have you ever heard of patched cards?
no,
Yeah.
I'm glad. So they are giving that information in terms of codes.
The what?
They are giving that information in terms of codes, ones and twos.
No, it could give a copy. Remember, in a computer, even now, they use such technology. But what do they do? These computers, they understand what we call a computer language. But for us, we understand what we call a human language. So we have what we call translators. Nowadays, we use the operating system like a Windows 10, Windows 11, iOS. You get so whereby when you type, a computer is able that Windows is able to compute. That's why you say we inserting data. We don't put data in a computer. I mean, we don't put information in a computer. We put data. That data is what is understood. That's why keyboards, they are programmed that if it is a K, even if you remove a button and you put arrow and you press it, if the space is for K, it will bring a K. You get my point?
I've understood, sir.
Yeah, so they could use what we call translators, yeah, to handle the functions there. Am I clear or I'm wasting your time for sleeping?
It has been clear to me.
Hmm? I might be wasting your time for sleeping and then I'm just so Can we proceed to second generation? Hopefully. So I said first generation we used vacuum tubes. So the programmers had to think of decreasing the space and what have you, because having computers when they are consuming a lot of space could be more dangerous. So they had to think of otherwise, and then they innovated, or they brought in what we call transistors. Transistors were superior to vacuum tubes. What I mean that in their functionalities, they could do things better than vacuum tubes. So since transistors is a smaller device, so the physical size of the computer, they had to drop down, or they had to reduce, and they become smaller compared to that of first generation. As you studied in your secondaries, you studied about vacuum tubes. You get? You get? Hello? Are you,
Yes,
are you
please.
there? You are there, eh?
Yeah, we are listening.
Okay. Since you studied that vacuum tube is a space without air, so this one, that's the technology they could use. Being a vacuum, that's why it could occupy a lot of space. You get? Then after that they had to bring in transistor. They had to bring in transistors. Then those transistors, they help to reduce the size, and those transistors they made the computer to be faster and cheaper compared to the other one, which could use vacuum tubes. And then you find that being that they brought in transistors, and basically those transistors they helped in reducing the amount of energy or electricity or power that was being used. So it determines the second generation that the power or electricity or energy used was less compared to first generation. That becomes the characteristics. The size it reduced compared to first generation. Why do you put compared? Because even the third, it reduced more. If you say it reduced, people will become confused. What reduced? You get? So you should know that these computers, those things reduced, they still relied on purchased cards for output and print out. As I said, this one they never had the monitors, so they had to use patched cards. As I said, that which happened even in the first generation, so we had to use also patched cards in this setting. So we find that one of the major development in this generation is just the progress of machine language to assembly. Remember, machine language, that's zeros and one. The assembly, it could understand digits J as data, this generation it moved from around 53 up to around 65, around from 55 up to 63, around there. So the characteristics, basically I've mentioned them. The technology used was transistors. So a question comes, which kind of technology used in the second generation? That is transistors. Another characteristics, as I mentioned before, they became smaller. They became smaller compared to first generation. You have to put that thing compared. Why compared? Because we are comparing first to second. We haven't gone into third. Just comparing first to second. The computation time was reduced, so it became from milliseconds to microseconds. So output could be processed in microseconds, not second but micro. The other one was milliseconds, now this one is micro. So if you know mathematics very well, we find that now the speed is advanced compared to the other one that is used in milliseconds, the first generation. And under this generation, we see that the machines were more exposed to hardware failure. Why was that so common? Because by that time we had less technicians to handle those whatever, like can I say it, to repairs and whatever. So like technician, IT specialists by that time were less. Nowadays we have so many people that they call themselves, I'm an IT technician, but they know only how to install Windows. If you only know how to install Windows and use Microsoft Office, then you don't know. You should ensure that at the end of this course that you are attending, you are able to know how you can program a website. You are able to create a website for your own school. Like for Ibrahim, you tell the director, you know what, get us some little money, I create for your website. You will be more happy. But the only challenge you will face, that the people we work with, like our bosses, they don't pay us the money they would have paid to the service provider. Now what you do, you bring someone else, he takes a job, then you do it. Then you give him some little percentage, over 20k, over 50k for booking work. That's where you'll be paid. Am I deceiving you people? Most of you you work with entities. I was happy that Benjamin, your teacher, Rotarian, told me that you can come out with a good site. That is a very good development. And then it brings success, and then it takes you in a world of IT specialists. So by that time we had a few specialists. That's why it was more reliable to hardware failures. So under this generation, you find that computers were more portable and generated less amount of heat, though it was not little compared to the third generation, but it was less compared to the first generation. And then why am I saying portable? Because they became smaller compared to the first generation. Then assembly language, I talked about that we used. Now we advanced with the assembly language. Besides, after that, we had to use air conditioning. Why? Because though it reduced, it was still high. So even this generation, air conditioning was an element. And then manual assembly of individual components, because it's based on assembly language. With the time we shall see assembly language as it goes on, as the course goes on. So being that it required it used the assembly language, that's why this manual assembly of individual component was still a function here. So that could push us into 1964 and up to early 1970s, 1971, 72, and 73, around there, where the development of third generation was a factor, was a determining factor. And this one had to integrate from transistors to integrated circuits. So this is where now the technology of circuit boards came in. Circuit boards came in, and then instead of purchased cards and print out, we had to bring in monitors, keyboards, basically keyboards. Mouse by this time we are not so common, but we use the keyboards and monitors. So keyboards and monitors, they became a point. So that's where we are beginning to see monitors. Now Benjamin, the monitors we are talking about, the big ones, now we begin to see them in this generation. So this allowed the device to learn many different applications. By the other time, they could run only one application. If it's typing, it's typing. If it is presenting, it's presenting. By this one, you can type, you can use. Even here this time, this internet was not yet, because it was under, by this time it could be easy, it was used by Army. I hope Benjamin, you talked about internet developments and the other jackies talked about internet, the integration, how internet came in. Now it came in within the 1970s, but under that period we could use third generation computers. So, and then you could have monitors. So, let's see about characteristics under these generations. I said one technology was integrated circuits. That's the technology. Phasing out the transistors. The computation time, it had to drop down from microseconds to nanoseconds. First generation, we said we used the microseconds, second micro, now we are in nanoseconds, meaning now the speed is superior now compared to the other previous two generations. And this generation, you find that the power was consumed less power was consumed, and portability, computers became more portable. And then that's where people even started using, individual companies, they started using computers, because first and second, you find that basically the governments are the one who could use them. But now we find that now we have companies adopting the use of computers. And now individuals have started using computers, because by this time high-level language became possible, so people could use different programming languages. So high-level language became one effect. The size of computers was very smaller compared to previous computers. But I'm not saying that we are smallest, or they were the ones which was the best. No, they just became smaller compared to the previous two. And then if this power, as I told you before, it's also a point. Manual assembling of individual components now was not required, since they reduced the large equipments, and which could even reduce labor costs. So you find I have a monitor, my keyboard, and then me say a joystick, and then I'm able, and then a system unit, then I'm able to use a computer. By this time IBM became more powerful, because by that time IBM were the best manufacturers. By now we have HP, Dell, Lenovo. By that time IBM was the main manufacturer. So since the computers came into the market, and individual companies, basically you find that individuals, they couldn't come in, but you find that companies could come and then purchase, and then they buy those computers. So commercial production, it became easier and cheaper, since it involved in companies to buy, individual companies besides the government. So when individual companies came in, so it increases commercial production. Then another component was hardware failure became less, so maintenance costs were quite low. So you people, is there anyone with the questions from first to second generation computers? Before I go into fourth, because fourth, now where the computers came in, that's where the Pentiums are, because they are even existing up to today, the fourth generation computers. So I want to know, is there anyone with a question from the first to the third generation? Yes? Bombard, are you there? Bombard. Bombard, are you there? Hello. So you
So
can
you can
unmute
unmute
that with
that
proceed.
with proceed.
And then, do you have any question concerning first generation, second, and third? Yes. Is there anyone with a question concerning those first three generations? Yes.
Yes.
Not really.
Yes, Mulia,
Yes,
Bendwa.
big one.
Rise up
Right?
and what you
I,
want.
just a kind of
Just a
request
kind
that
of request
you
that
make a
we
small
make
group
a small group
in the third
in the third
generation.
generation.
The third
Because
generation.
I didn't get it well as first and second.
So I was saying, under first generation, we had to integrate all the people specialists by that time. They had to think. When we had the first generation, it was bigger. They had to think how they can lower. Then after, they had they had to see how best way they can lower again. So they had to go into second generation, and then that's where we had the technology of motherboards. You know motherboards. Motherboards. So those are the integrated circuits. They had to bring in integrated circuits. They had to under the third generation, because first the speed was in microseconds. Second, it was in microseconds. So by this generation, speed was in nanoseconds. So meaning by that time, by this time, speed was really very very speedy compared to those previous generations. And then this under these ones is that individual companies, they started using them. Individual companies started using computers, though it was rare to find the individual person with a computer, but for it was easy to find a company with computing devices or with computers. So meaning it increased the commercial production. So hardware failures, it lowered it down. Hardware failures. So basically that's the only overview under this generation. Do you have any question? Because individual use began with the fourth generation, and from fourth generation those computers still existing up to today. That's why I want to know if you have anything you haven't understood in the previous generations, so that I'm able to know, and then I do what? I explain. Is there any question? Let me hope the server is not down again, because I'm hearing no one. You can unmute and say something. Murindo, are you there?
I'm in class.
Okay. Ibrahim, you are also there, hopefully, and yeah.
Yes.
The server can receive some issues, and then I continue talking. You get? So now let's proceed to fourth generation computer. So fourth generation began in early 70s. That was around 1972. The third generation was still there, but even this one began. Under this, that's where I began seeing the technology of processors, microprocessors. So fourth generation is an extension of third generation technology. That's why I say it began when even the other one was still existing, and then even this one began. So the other one was still there, and then also this one began. So this one became a point, like it becomes the foundation of our computer that we are using today. So in this setting, fourth generation computers, they use microprocessors, which replaced the integrated circuit boards. And then we found that under this generation, computers became more powerful, compatible, reliable, and affordable. Now people could come in and then they buy computing devices. As a result, it gave rise to allowance of development of personal computers. Now individual people, they started buying computing devices. That's why I'm saying it gave allowance to the development of personal computers. So in that way, we find that as we come into in the next session, we shall talk about different types of computers, because they began with this generation, because we find that we had the integration, we had the development of graphical user interface. So that's where meaning operating system was involved. Handheld devices was developed. Yes, please. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, just a moment. Are you able to see me now? Hello? Are you still there?
Yes.
We have
Yes, we are here.
in the server. That's why it is on and off, but I'm told that it's done, the upgrade is done. So let me share again the screen. Hope you are able to see the screen, all of you. Are you? So I was
So
saying,
I would say
just a moment.
just a moment.
Let me try to mute. Okay, it was echoing back. I was saying, uh, under this fourth generation, that's where the development of personal computers became a point. Development of graphical user interface, development of handheld devices, the pads, the personal computer, laptops, and whatever, the CPU. So such technologies that he brought in the the community, or with the people, to be able to now to start using computers. It was under this generation. So the best characteristics under fourth generation is that fourth generation computer are microprocessor based systems, meaning they are based on processors, and these computers are very small. They are not the smallest, but they are very small. They can be easily can easily be carried from one workstation to another. We found that under fourth generation computers, by this time, they are the cheapest computers among all other generations that were established before. We saw that by this they became more portable and quite reliable, whereby now people can rely on computers. Hardware failure was negligible, like it was not common. So minimum maintenance or minimum maintenance were required by then. And remember, by this time now specialists they came in. Those people that can handle IT system, they came in, and then it became so useful, and then they are easy to use. So graphical user interface and pointing devices like a mouse were so common here, which enabled users to learn how to use computer quickly. So mouse they became in, and then the graphical user interface, those screens like the way we are using the screen, the user interface, it became so common and then so reliable. Interconnection of computers leads to better communication and social. So in this case, we are talking about networking. So networking began in these fourth generation computers. So we began to see what we call networking, and that's where the internet became so common. Because in the 1970s, that's where the researchers under the U.S. Army, they sat down and then they brought these internet issues, which is now a point today. So basically that's the overview of fourth generation, unless there is anyone with a question. So let's also talk about the fifth generation. So fifth generation, these are the present computers and beyond. So even the computers to come, other generations are being developed in fifth generation, because nowadays computers are based on artificial intelligence. So the dream of creating human-like computer that would be capable for reasoning, reaching a decision with series of what if then, it became true by this generation. So such computers will learn from its mistake and process a skill of experts. Though you should know, as you are learning with artificial intelligence or AI, is that although we use these computers and AI related issues, that you should not allow the computers are not able to decide by themselves. They do what you tell it to do. Even if it's AI is also programmed, meaning there is someone who is able to handle that that system. Then by early 1990s, the process of fifth generation was still in development stage. So it became more common in 2000s. That's where the AI system now became an expert up to now. Now we are able to do things just because of an AI. So do you have any question concerning fourth and fifth generation? So the development of fifth generation computer came in stages. First of all, they brought what we call expert system. This one was the computer information system that attempts to mimic the thoughts, process, and reasoning of experts in the specific areas. So this process, it became it had what we call characteristics to identify these fifth generation computers or this expert system, because the fifth generation is basically described into expert system because it's able to do things by its own. That's why you say it's an expert system. So the basic characteristics were mega chips. So mega chips, fifth generation, we will use simple larger scale integrated circuits or chips, which could result into the production of microprocessors having millions of electronic devices and then electronic processors. So these mega chips were so useful in the manufacturing of electronic components on a chip. If you can be able to see a chip, let me try to see here that I share you with a screen of how a chip looks like. Chips, you can go into your internet and then you put chips, not chips that you take that you go and then you buy meat chips and chicken. No, I'm not talking about those chips. I'm talking about the chips in IT. Let me try to share with you the screen here so that you can see how they look like. Are you seeing this? So basically these are the chips. So under this there is a lot of components that are there. You can see this one. There are a lot of components. So these ones we have is what I was talking about. These ones. So those are the mega chips. Then we have another one, what we call, from mega chips have to go to parallel processing. Parallel processing, most computers today access and execute only one instruction at a time. That is parallel. That is serial processing, not parallel. Instructing and processing one instruction, do this, it does, and then after it go into another process. That is serial. But parallel, simply accessing several instructions at once and work upon them. You are typing, you are printing, you are scanning, you are playing music. So the computer is handling many components at one time. That is what you call parallel processing. And then from that we had to go into artificial intelligence. Under the fifth generation, that's the characteristic series, how it was developed. So this one, where computer now started behaving like a human being, trying to think by himself. The expert systems using natural language processing, they are able to do what you call speech recognition and then version recognition. This is where the robots came in, and so many other issues. So basically, that's an overview. That's an overview of fifth generation computers. So if you have any question, you can ask about generations.
Okay, Mentor, thank you. Now you say that there are some generations which are not documented in these books we are using. So now, which generation are we using? Like such computers now we are using. Which generation is this? Is it still in the
You can be in five. You can be in fourth. But what I'm saying, nowadays they are developing advanced generations. But those generations are being advanced from the fifth generation, is what I'm talking about. Because now I was like our police, these camera systems on roadways, the computer that control, they use 30th generation computer. They are 30th generation. But for you are talking about 6th generation. You get my point? So, but though that's something that is, if you are hearing I-30, that's the 30th generation. You hear someone saying, I'm going to sell you a computer, it is i3 generation 4. You get? The processor is in i3 by generation is 4. It's i3 4th generation. It's i3 7th generation. i3 10th generation. But those from 6 to more generation, they are under the 5th generation. So in your settings, you should take only those 5 generations. Any other question? Any other question, or I let you go and rest or sleep?
I think for me, if you go back and see from the third generation, I think we have to keep this in mind. Because if you go to the fourth generation, it says it's an extension of the third generation. And the third generation was based on the integrated circuit technology as per the session. Now, the fifth generation, we are seeing the mega chips, the parallel processing, and the artificial intelligence. So I think all these generations are coming from the third generation.
True. Under third generation, you find that basically it could favor government and the companies. Building those computers were still big, so they had to bring generation which could make computers smaller. So that's the fourth generation. But driving technology from the third generation, then they are going on integrating, bringing more portable computers, because people nowadays they move with their computers. Now I was talking to someone and then I told him that if you take away my laptop, that's my office. Visiting senior computer teaching and whatever using the servers, they just connect with my laptop because my office is my laptop. So that's why I'm saying that other generations, they are coming, but driving the technology, that technology from that generation to bring AI, to bring, because you are seeing even now they are using circuit boards and their processors. That's where they are just playing with such technology to bring something smaller and usable. So that was it. So your point becomes fundamental that all these generations are coming from third generation. Though people started using fourth generation because they became portable, and they became portable. Any other question? Is there any question, or I'll let you?
I think we continue because that's all about.
Okay. Next time when we meet, you are going to talk about the different types of computers and their application areas. Then the other time we shall go into practicals, different kinds. Though Mulinda, don't forget to have the access to the portal. You instruct the administrator that he onboarded you to give you access, and then a link how you can use it. That Ibrahim also challenged him, but you can get in touch and then he supports you on how to use it, because you can't create an account, you can only have logins. That's why I say you should inbox him by tomorrow. We have the lesson, and this is when you have access to the system.
I've sent him a link.
Okay.
Yeah.